What's going on, all you Minties? This is the Uncanny Omar with...
The Astonishing Melanie.
That's right. The Astonishing Melanie's helping me out today, checking out some of these books coming out from Marvel this week, so...
Please stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us these review copies. These are due out either October 4th or 5th.
Depending on where you get your books. So we're looking at a couple of Epic collections, one of them being a reprint. It's a new start for both Amazing Spider-Man and She-Hulk. The Sabretooth miniseries. Yes, more Mighty Marvel Masterworks, and a new graphic novel. So, as always, we put timestamps in the description of the video so you can jump around and check out the books you're interested in.
Look how dynamic this one is. That's my favorite cover.
Okay, well, we're not doing that yet.
Too bad.
Alright, so we're going to kick it off with She-Hulk. I lied. We can't kick it off with She-Hulk. We have to kick it off with one of the channel's favorite formats. Like, my family loves this format, and this is Black Panther in Mighty Marvel Masterworks format. I mentioned this the other day whenever we were announcing upcoming Marvel collected editions, that it's really strange that we're having Captain Marvel, Mighty Marvel Masterworks. We have Namor, we have Captain America, we have Thor, but we don't have Iron Man, which to me has always, well, at least because of the MCU, has been like that holy trinity. Not to steal Black Panther's thunder, not that I can, because oh my gosh, this month there's so many Black Panther omnis and graphic novels, and of course these Mighty Marvel Masterworks. Now, the mapping on these are a lot different than the mapping on the Epic collections, because in here you get Fantastic Four 52 and 53, 56, and you also get Tales of Suspense 97 through 99, Captain America 100, and Avengers 52, 62, 73 to 74, Daredevil 52, and then material from Fantastic Four 54. That is so much different than the Epic collections. Now, this is closer to what the Omnibus mappings are, except it doesn't get into the whole jungle adventure, but that is really surprising, because with most of these I've noticed that they're closer to the way that the Epics are mapped, but the Epic really starts with Fantastic Four, has the main Fantastic Four story where he's introduced. I don't think it even has the Captain America, maybe it does have Captain America 100, but I know it doesn't have the Avengers, and then it jumps right into the jungle adventure stories. So, really cool. This is the beginning of T'Challa. This is where you're introduced to a couple of his arch nemesis, to the world of Wakanda, who the king of Wakanda is, and what he is about. This character was created, of course, by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. This book retails for $15.99, and it has 240 pages. You have the direct market cover and the standard edition cover. And keep an eye on the channel, because this is the next book after Uncanny X-Men 2 that we're going to be doing a family review on. So this is a really interesting release. This is in a graphic novel size, so meaning that it's smaller than your standard edition size books. But this is one that I had never read. I didn't even know was a thing. But this is Black Panther Legends. Kind of glad I waited to read this one, because I'm gonna do a where to start reading Black Panther, and I think this one is an excellent choice. So here we have the creators behind this 4-issue miniseries that's all collected in here. Tochi Onyebuchi. And then you have all these pencilers and inkers working on this particular book. So what this does is, this, once again, it feels like we are modernizing the origin of T'Challa and how he becomes Black Panther. We start off with his father T'Chaka being the Black Panther, his, not biological mother, but the lady that raised him, Ramonda. And his brother is already at the beginning, and his sister. This is Hunter, his... I guess he's considered his stepbrother. He was first introduced in the pages of Christopher Priest's run. He is the White Wolf. He's the one that has the war dogs with him. If you're familiar with them, they look like the white Black Panthers, if you will. But he is introduced from the very beginning here, which is interesting because you didn't see him until a series of flashbacks through the pages of Christopher Priest's run. That's not the only thing that's retconned. It's also retconning what happens to his dad, how Ulysses Claus ends up killing his father, and then of course he just running into Storm at a young age, again from the pages of Marvel. What was it? Marvel Team Up, I think, number 100. It was a little short story that Chris Claremont wrote that everybody, for some reason, just in recent times since Reggie Hudlin's run, just loves to go back to, even though it was just like a short little story he wrote in the back of Marvel Team Up. And there's Shuri. Shuri wasn't introduced until much later either. So it's really interesting to see this, a modernization of how T'Challa became Black Panther, and also shoehorning, and I say shoehorning, those characters like his stepbrother, Hunter, in there, or like Ramonda in there, or Shuri. So, pretty cool. And then, of course, Okoye, another character that wasn't introduced until much later. Claw looking more like his movie counterpart than he does the Claw from the comic books. All the way in the back is the extra. This is a graphic novel, Into the Heartlands. It's just a little bit of a tease of this. There's also prose back here, a little bit of the prose. And it's like a young adult prose. This book retails for $13.99, and it has 136 pages.
First up is She-Hulk by Rainbow Rowell and illustrated by Jorge Antonio, Luca Maresca, and colored by Rico Renzi. This retails for $15.99. It collects issues 1 through 5 of Rainbow Rowell's new run on She-Hulk, and it is 120 pages. It's rated T+, so Teenager Plus. I don't see why. Rainbow Rowell is a writer for young adults, YA author. And you can definitely see her style with this run, because I feel like the target audience is young adults. Because Jen is kind of starting over, reinventing herself, or finding her true self. She mentions this to Titania when Titania's wanting to battle her because no one else she can wail on for fun, which I like that part.
So this is after her Savage She-Hulk, like, time during Jason Aaron's run on Avengers. Because she hasn't had an ongoing series since Mariko Tamaki. So this is the newer series.
She is borrowing an apartment from the Wasp. She's working for a former rival, Mallory Book. So yeah, she's humbled, she's starting from the beginning, and Jack of Hearts shows up, who's supposed to be dead. There's a lot of dialogue between her and John Hart. That's why I feel like it's the target audience is for young adults who are trying to figure yourself out. But I mean, I identified with the beginning of the story. I was like, I really understood where Jen is coming from. In terms of the art, it's a little cartoony, the facial expressions, a little anime-ish. She's got this humongous hair and cute poses and such. So if that's something that's up your alley, then I suggest picking this up. I mean, it's only $15.99. And like I said, if you know some young adults who'd be interested in that, even if you yourself, you just like a good story, this character, and how she's just a good person and some good dialogue, then pick this up. Here are variant covers as extras in the back. Blood Ow. I like that one. That one's cute. So, yeah, see? Young adult.
The next book I want to talk about is Bloodstone and the Legion of Monsters. Now, what's interesting about this collection is that it features Ulysses Bloodstone right here from his first appearance. But then you have Elsa Bloodstone here, and she's also in the back, along with the Legion of Monsters. Now, the Legion of Monsters, to me, was a really fun series. I think it came out in 2011. You have the Stuart Eminem drawing here from her time on Next Wave, which is when she did make a big comeback. You don't have her first appearance here, and the way that this is collected is really interesting because you have the Legion of Monsters, this series right here. And I got this because I was so excited for the return of these classic monsters. And I thought, oh man, this is so cool. They're bringing these characters back, mainly because of Rick Remender's run on Punisher. So I do want to say that um, oh yeah, this is gonna be hard to talk about. Something happens to Frank Castle where he changes dramatically in the pages of Rick Remender's Punisher run. For those of you that read it, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and it opened up the possibilities to the return of these particular characters, these monster characters from the Marvel Universe that we hadn't seen for a while. So this series is written by Dennis Hopeless, and he reintroduces us to these particular characters with a little bit of a twist, a little tongue-in-cheek. You have the Amphibian here, you have Morbius, the living vampire, you have Jack Russell, Werewolf by Night, and the Cantu, who's the living mummy. Characters that have appeared, and I love the way they were going to go with this, but unfortunately I don't think the interest was there for the characters that have their own ongoing series. There's Hellstrom right there. So the artwork, I think, is one of my favorite things because it has this anime look to it, and it's Juan Do, but it's a lot sketchier than anime, so it kind of reminds me of like an over-the-top Humberto Ramos, if you will. But I thought this was a very fun series. Did not take itself seriously, but I'll be honest, much of the book doesn't take itself seriously. At least the stories that feature Elsa. Whether she's teaming up with Boom Boom or whether she's hanging out with the Legion. I love the story. It was just nice to see a couple of Next Wave characters together again. This story right here, where she meets up with Tabitha. And then this is the girls' comics. This is kind of like a take on Archie. But what's interesting is that all the way in the back is where you actually see the Bloodstone series. The guy that started it all, Ulysses Bloodstone, her father. So this is his first issue, and this is what kicks off the actual Bloodstone stories. This is all the way in 1975. Now, the 2 issues are collected in here that feature the character of Ulysses Bloodstone. Yes, issues 1 and 2. And then he went over to star in the backup stories for the Hulk magazine, the Rampaging Hulk. So these, of course, are in black and white. So this book retails for $34.99. It's a really interesting collection. I'm curious why they didn't reprint Elsa's first appearance with her miniseries from, I think it was the late 90s when she first appeared. It was just called Bloodstone, because this basically just collects Astonishing Tales, Boom Boom and Elsa, the Legion of Monster series 1 through 4, Marvel Presents 1 and 2, which is the Ulysses Bloodstone stories that I was talking about, Marvel Monsters from the Files of Ulysses Bloodstone, and the Monster Hunters, and then the material, Uncanny Omar Talk Pretty One Day, this stuff here, material from Marvel Assistant Size Spectacular number 2, and Girls Comics number 2. The book has 304 pages, retails for $34.99. There's some beautiful artwork back here. And as far as the extras, what we have is some of the handbook stuff back here. The guide to some of these characters. We have some sketches, the art process. But yeah, I feel like that should have been here because I think in the solicits, it was solicited to have had her first appearance. So maybe it was supposed to? I don't know. But that is Bloodstone and the Legion of Monsters. And yes, of course, this is timed perfectly because she's a character that is rumored to appear in the Werewolf by Night. I guess it's not a TV show. It's a TV special on Disney Plus that premieres sometime this October. So, perfect timing. This week we need all hands on deck. That's right. Here's all the spines coming out. These, what was I saying? Astonishing Melanie? All these spines coming out. No, all the book spines from all the books coming out this week. And this is also where I like to remind people to smash that like button and subscribe. Check out our Patreon and Spread Shop. You're covering the spine with your thumb.
Sorry.
All right, let's get back to the video. Sabretooth, the Adversary. Now, when I saw the solicits for this, they had a different cover by Ryan Stegman, but this is the cover that it has. And it does collect issues 1 through 5 of Sabretooth. The book retailing for $17.99. Now, something very important I'm going to say here, though, because I always like to tell people ahead of time if I'm going into any kind of spoilers. There are going to be some minor spoilers. I cannot talk about this book and what happens in here without talking about House and Powers of X. So I have to talk about what happened to Sabretooth in the pages of House and Powers of X and come here. So, just in case, minor spoilers just for Sabretooth and why he is where he is during this particular miniseries. All right, welcome back. So, this is all during the Dawn of X era. In House and Powers of X, they have established some rules for mutant kind. They're all living on Krakoa. Everything is fine and dandy until somebody breaks the rules. So the council decides what happens to these characters. And of course, the first person to break the rule, and it is an important rule about killing, like, you should not kill, that's horrible. But how can you trust somebody like Sabretooth? I guess when you got Apocalypse on the council and Magneto on the council, and characters like Sebastian Shaw, Exodus, and Mystique, you understand that this society is about forgiveness. But when it comes to Sabretooth, knowing the rules, he did break them. So in the Powers and House of X miniseries, he did kill. They found out about it, and they punished him by sending him to the middle of Krakoa. So they send him to the pit, is what it's called. Yes, right here. And that's where he's been. Because Victor Creed has no mercy, and there is no mercy given to him. So this is a really interesting miniseries. It's only 5 issues. It's all written by Victor Lavalle and drawn by Leonard Kirk. Really dig his artwork through here. And I will say, this damn book is gory. Like, some of the things he fantasizes about doing, as you can tell right here, I mean, he is ripping people's heads off. He's eating their arms. It's pretty rough to look at. Like, it really surprised me, the things that they were doing. Granted, of course, he's fantasizing about them, right? Like, decapitation is here. Hey, welcome to spooky season, right? But even then, like, that is still somebody drawing that. I thought the Mark Teixeira and Larry Hama Sabretooth series was rough. So this is a lot rougher. So this is how he's handling being down there in the pit. And he seems to be making his own private hell with all these weird fantasies. And that all changes when 5 characters appear. You have Necra, Madison Jeffries, Oya, Melter, and Third Eye. These are mutants that were sent into the pit to kind of like Victor Creed, but not as bad as him. They will be taken out eventually, is what the council says. You find out through the second issue why they decided to put these particular characters down there, what they did to break the rules of Krakoa. And you have to abide by these laws. Nobody is safe. Not even some of these beloved characters. Like, I was really surprised that they sent Oya down there. Like, what does she do? But I guess it makes sense if you had read, what was it, the young, is it Young X-Men? No, Hope. Generation Hope, that's what it was. So, when they make it down there, they're kind of confused as to what this particular part of Krakoa is, because we're still finding things out about Krakoa, and we don't know what starts becoming reality and what Victor has control of. So by the end of this, it gets really interesting. Now, one other thing is, I would strongly suggest reading Hellions, at least finish it out before reading this, because something happens in the 4th issue here that will spoil the ending of Hellions for you. So I don't want that to happen. So definitely read Hellions 1 through 18, as well as you should, because it's a wonderful series, and then come back and read this. So this book has 152 pages. Let's check out the extras. That's all I will say about it. Like I said, minor spoilers. Now let's look at the extras in the back. These are the standard edition covers. And then we have some variants back here. The standard edition ones are all supplied by Ryan Stegman. And here are your variant covers. It's an awesome one by Dustin Weaver. Let's see. Oh, I like that one by Maria Wolf. That one, that's awesome. Then you have ads for X-Force and I assume Wolverine here. For the record, none of these issues, as of this video, are part of the recent anthology, The Trials of X. Just like Fantastic Four X-Men miniseries was not included in the Dawn of X miniseries, just like Juggernaut miniseries was not included in the Reign of X anthologies. And I'm sorry, I said Dawn of X miniseries. I meant anthology. These, as of this video, are not solicited for the Trials of X. They may include them later, I'm not sure, but as of now, they are not in there.
Next up is The Amazing Spider-Man by Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr. as the artiste and Marcio Menez. This retails for $17.99 and it is 144 pages. It's rated teen and collects Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man issues 1 through 5. So here is John Romita Jr.'s 5th or 6th time return to Spider-Man. Oh, and this one's only teen. I must have missed something in the dialogue in She-Hulk that gave it teen plus, or maybe, I don't know. Anyway, what I think is interesting is this giant thwip on the front that you'll see on the inside, the where the cover's from, and there is no thwip. However, I don't know how I feel about it. I like it, but it's kind of odd. So it starts out with a mystery. Why Peter is crying out in pain in a crater, outside of York, Pennsylvania. And then it jumps to 6 months later to tell the story. This is the new ongoing series after Spider-Man Beyond, so you see some of the ramifications from that storyline. And of course, in true Peter Parker style, nothing is fair or there's no justice in his life, with what I can only presume is something that he probably did heroic, but he's paying for it. The Parker luck. I like this trade. I like this story. I like how Zeb Wells focuses the story on Spider-Man and Tombstone, and how it's. I think he does a good job of balancing that with other details and other characters that come into play in the story. You know, Peter's got his humor to get him through as he's fighting the bad guys. And Tombstone makes a big decision in this book that comes from the angle of Rose, Wilson Fisk's son, wanting to take what isn't his. I could say it that way. And this also affects his daughter and Peter's friend who wants to marry said daughter. I think it's a great balance of action and character development and just diving into the story. Like this part, I like. This is cool. Here's some extras in the back. Variant covers. That's cute. That one's awesome. So there you have it. I recommend picking this up.
Next up is Avengers, the Collection Obsession. This is the recent printing. It has been previously printed before. The US one here, it uses thicker paper. However, the one here in Canada, so you have the original printing in the US, where it gets cut short. So you can see here, it doesn't cover the entire part of this. I hate when covers do that. It's one of my pet peeves. This does more, though. It's vaguely a little bit more. And also the paper stock here. Let me show you. For example, you have the Canadian printing at the bottom and the original printing in the US at the top. Colors are a little bit different, but let's go ahead and open this up and talk about this particular era of the Avengers. First of all, just check out the credits here. All these freaking creators. That, you know, normally I would be like, yes, this is awesome. But when you're talking about one series, it's like, wow, they were going through some changes. So you have Danny Fingeroth, Roy Thomas, Dan Thomas, his wife. They were both working together a lot at the time, mainly on Avengers West Coast. Peter David, Scott Lobdell, Bob Harris, Fabian Nicieza, Ron Lim, Kevin West, Ron Wagner, Steve Epting, Andy Kubert. And it all kicks off with The Vault. So it's the graphic novel Avengers, the Death Trap, The Vault. So this is awesome because they tell you ahead of time this is set in recent past, and it's supposed to be read between issues 318 and 319 of Avengers. So Danny Fingeroth is the writer on this, and it's got Ron Lim's artwork. But this features Venom, and I remember this is back when, I know it's weird, but at one time, Venom was a hot commodity that did not appear everywhere. He didn't have a monthly series. He wasn't guest starring in issues. So as a kid, I would look forward to another Venom appearance. Visually, I thought he was such a cool villain ever since he made a full appearance in the Amazing Spider-Man 300. Yes, I know that his body appeared in Amazing 299, but when he showed up in Amazing 300, and then when Eric Larson gave him that goofy tongue, I would look forward to all his appearances. So this is a book that I got, because I wasn't really getting a lot of Avengers back then, but I did get this one. It wasn't until really actually it's the beginning of this omnibus that I started getting some of the monthly Avengers. Just because they featured more and more of Quicksilver, some of Scarlet Witch, and to me, mutants equals X-Men. I'm an X-Men completist, had to get them. Yeah, I don't know, argue with the mind of I think I was 12 at the time. So this collects that particular Death Trap, the Vault. It also collects Avengers 334 to 344, annuals number 20, and also material from Incredible Hulk annual number 17, and Namor to Submariner annual number 1, Iron Man annual number 12, and Avengers West Coast annual number 6. So it does contain the entirety of the Subterranean War. This is a really powerful backup right here. This is found in the pages of Avengers annual number 20. And I thought this one was really powerful. Written by Michael Higgins. It's all about a little boy praying to God. God, you've taken my mother. My father has cancer. Please give me a sign that he's going to be okay. And then Thor flies like right outside of his window. And he goes and explores. He tries to go and get Thor's help to cure his father of cancer. Meanwhile, Thor is dealing with the Absorbing Man and fighting him. This kid is in the background. I thought it was just such a sweet story. This is all part of the Subterranean Wars with Namor, with Hulk. Yes, it features the Mole Man and all his people. Love seeing Stingray show up. I forgot he played a pretty big part after Roger Stern's run in Namor. And there's the Iron Man story. And then we come back to Avengers with the collection obsession. So I think I made a joke about how can you have a bunch of collected editions and not own this particular collection. But this is Thane Hector. And Thane Hector is coming to Earth to kick the crap out of all these superheroes. It's this guy right here. This is a fill-in issue by Andy Kubert. I believe Tom Palmer does the inks because Tom Palmer was inking Steve Epting's art at the time. So at this point, it is interesting to see Rage be part of the team because, of course, Rage to me always feels like a New Warriors character. This is when Bob Harris started writing these particular issues, and all of this leads directly into the Operation Galactic Storm for you completists out there. So all these issues here happen before Operation Galactic Storm. So yes, Thane Hector and his folk come down here to Earth, and he sets his eyes on this particular prize of Cersei, so he takes her with him. Meanwhile, there's somebody that's pulling the strings of this particular storyline. And the storyline, of course, is called The Collection Obsession. So when I say someone else is pulling the strings, I'm pretty sure most of you can figure out who the heck I'm talking about. But again, you have artwork now by Steve Epting. He is joining the team. The creative team, rather. And then there's a crossover with the New Warriors. I love this. Let me get to that particular story. Oh, well, before that, there was a fill-in issue here. Yes, this particular fill-in issue. I feel like this is one that David Michelinie wrote a long time ago, and they found it out there, so they just needed a script, so they asked Scott Lobdell to come in and do a script, but it focuses on the Wasp. Then we get the return of the Sons of the Serpent, and this is the one that has not a crossover, but it features the New Warriors. And this is when the New Warriors meet Rage, and this one's written by Fabian Nicieza. And the Sons of the Serpents are, of course, this group of racist people, and it's an all-out war between the Avengers, teaming up with the New Warriors, and to take them down. And yeah, this is where Rage is introduced to these characters, and eventually, of course, he ends up leaving. Well, let's just say he gets demoted from the Avengers for doing something, but it was a necessity, and you can find out what I'm talking about by reading New Warriors Omnibus Volume 1. Gotta get that read before Volume 2 comes out. But this book right here has 496 pages, retails for $44.99, and there is one of my favorite Avengers of all time. This is the Return of the Black Knight. It's also the return of Swordsman. Magdalene, they make a return here. And it gets ready to be the Leather Jacket years. But let's look at the extras here in the back. Not much of extras. We have Marvel Age, some trading cards, the trade paperback to Death Trap the Vault, and original pages. Now, this one retails for $44.99. The first printing was $39.99. It's the exact same content. But let me just show you really quick. The colors seem just a little bit darker in the original printing, in the US printing, than they do the new printing, the one that was printed in Canada. And that's not a bad thing. You know, sometimes, like for Venom, for example, I think he looks better here. Here he's a little bit darker. Shadow's a little bit darker. But that's honestly about the only difference I notice. I didn't notice any other difference when doing a comparison of these two books. But again, that is The Avengers, the Collection Obsession, Volume 21 of the Epic Collection. And last but not least is Star Wars Legends Epic Collection, The New Republic, Volume 6. I know that's a mouthful, but it is part of their Legends line. Volume 6 right there, and the stories take place after Episode 6. And very important, the stories take place after Dark Empire. So if you've read Dark Empire, you're okay to go in here. If you have not read Dark Empire, you might be a little bit confused, and it might spoil some of the things that happen in that amazing... Dark Empire too, really, in that amazing story arc. So I have been waiting a long time to read this. I've heard stories about this, and this is all about these guys right here, the Imperial Guard, the Crimson Guard. So this collects Star Wars Crimson Empire 0 through 6, Star Wars Bounty Hunter Koenig's Kill, Crimson Empire 2, The Council of Blood, 1 through 6, Crimson Empire 3, Empire Lost 1 through 6, and then material from Dark Horse Presents 21 through 24, and Dark Horse Presents number 1. So this is a really excellent story, I think. The first one, much like Dark Empire, I feel like, could have been left alone and been just a standalone story that doesn't need a follow-up or anything because, oh my gosh, it is so good. So I do have to talk a little bit about something that happened in the pages of Dark Empire. It's not very important, and I think if you've seen the movies, you kind of know where this is going to go, but if this takes place after Episode 6, if it takes place after Dark Empire... Okay, just in case though, minor spoilers about something that happens in the pages of Dark Empire. Alright, welcome back. For those people that don't care, or the people that have already read it. So, this is all having to do with the clone of Emperor Palpatine. The last clone has been extinct. Like, they have wiped out the clones of Emperor Palpatine. So, now, it's like the Royal Guard has been hunted down and killed after the death of Emperor Palpatine, with the exception of a couple of the old Crimson Guard. So you have the character of Carnor Jax, this guy right here, who wants to be like the Emperor, the new Emperor, after the fall of the Emperor. And he wants to go after Kier Karnos, who was the Emperor's most loyal soldier. And he feels like the Imperial Ruling Council, all the people under Carnor Jax, are the reason why the Emperor fell, or the reason why the Empire's no more. So he kind of has a revenge vendetta. Yeah, he's got this vendetta against this particular character. So much so that he gets the help of some rebels. So here we have Mirith Sin, and we have her second-in-command, Sish Sadit, and he gets their help to try to infiltrate this particular group. So I thought that was so interesting because not only does it show, how these characters are having to put aside their differences to team up against a darker force, but it also shows flashback of what it took to be this elite guard, what it took to be the best of the best, to be protecting the Emperor, to become the Crimson Guard. I thought that was so awesome because there are a lot of cool flashbacks here. The one person I haven't talked about is Paul Gulachi. It's his artwork that is all over the first 6 issues, including inks by P. Craig Russell. So Paul Gulaci, of course, comes from he doesn't come from, I'm sorry, but I think most people are familiar with his Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, Master Kung Fu, and he can draw some amazing kick-ass fighting sequences. He did some of the artwork in Catwoman, but this here is just so awesome. Like, the badassness of the Crimson Guard fighting each other, because there is a huge battle. Of course, these two opposing forces have to meet and have to duke it out. So yes, eventually, Kier Karnos and Carnor Jax come together for this big, badass fight. And in here, you get to see how he gets his scar, too. But I thought this was well choreographed, easy to follow, and man, it was just such a good miniseries. And then we get the second miniseries, which is pretty much just Kier Karnos setting aside his name and going by a bounty hunter name, Phoenix Kill, and trying to wipe out pretty much the rest of the Imperials, what's left of the Imperial Council. And that one takes an interesting turn. That one throws in a lot of characters, a lot of twists, a lot of betrayals. And then we get a Crimson Empire 3, but that doesn't happen until we have some of the extras here from Dark Horse Presents. But 3 is really interesting because this is the one where it sets up what the New Republic looks like, because we do see Leia Organa, we do see Han Solo, because that's the one where, man, it's pretty cool. Kier Karnos just decides to go after Luke Skywalker. So now Kier Karnos is going after the protagonist of all these movies. And of course, that's not as easy as he thinks it's going to be. And that's what wraps up the Crimson Empire saga. So it's really cool. Like I said, the first one, though, when it's just a battle between Kier Karnos and the character of Carnor Jax, I thought that was so much better because it's just this, you get to have a series of flashbacks of how these two characters met, and then of course alliances that you wouldn't normally see. I loved it. I thought it was great. And this is a big book. Let me get to the extras. So in between the chapters, I'm sure you saw that that's where the standard covers are, but here are some of the variants. So this book has 496 pages. It retails for $44.99. And from what my viewers have told me, I think this is the last of the New Republic in Epic Collection. I don't think there's more after this. But that, as they say, is that.
If you're interested in picking up these books, please check out our sponsor.
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more.
And those are the books coming out this week. Let us know in the comments below which ones you plan on picking up, which you're excited for, which ones you hope get the Omni treatment. Thank you so much for watching.
Everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.
Stay minty!
And that.